What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the show, Under Center with Abelson, presented by the Real Spiel podcast. We are back. We have another college football playoff ranking reaction. The second to last one. The final playoff rankings is on the horizon. We have, four more days, Sunday, after conference championship weekend. So we're just going to quickly react to this one. Again, you know how this goes. Not going to take too long. Just going to give you my thoughts. Going to give you the rankings. Going to tell you where I think the committee got it right, got it wrong. And this is one of the, because all the other rankings, for anybody who says these rankings don't matter in the first place, you're a dead lie. You're a lie. Every single ranking matters. Every single ranking matters. We'll get into that. Before we get started, though, do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hey, there are limited number of weekends in college football remaining. We have conference championship weekend this weekend. Then we got like 2 weeks of nothing. Then we got the first round of the playoffs. Then we got the second round of the playoffs. Then we got the semifinals or whatever. And then national championship. Like there's limited time. There's going to be more weekends of college football games not played in the next, I'd say, month and a half than there is played. Because, they like to make that fat-ass break in between the semifinal games and the national championship game because for whatever reason they think it's a good idea to have the championship game on January 20th. Like, what are we doing? But either way, like, comment, subscribe. We will be giving you guys college football playoff content as well. It does not stop in the regular season. All right, let's get into these rankings. At number 1, obviously, we have Ohio State. Number 2, Indiana. Number 3, Georgia. Number 4, Texas Tech. Number 5, Oregon. Number 6, Ole Miss. Number 7, slides down, Texas A&M. 8, we got Oklahoma. 9, Alabama. 10, Notre Dame. 11, BYU. 12, Miami. 13, Texas. Vandy at 14. Utah at 15. USC, Southern California at 16. We got Virginia at 17. Arizona at 18. Michigan at 19. Tulane at 20. Houston at 21. Georgia Tech at 22. Iowa at 23. North Texas at 24. And we got JMU, James Madison, at 25. I think first and foremost, we finally have quite a bit of Group of 5 representation in here. James Madison, they're making the rankings for the first time since the rankings have been debuted. North Texas and Tulane. North Texas is coming in the mix. I think Tulane was ranked last week, but that's going to set up a ranked matchup versus for the American Conference versus North Texas and Tulane, and likely the winner of that game, no matter what happens with the ACC, because we do know there is that ACC doomsday scenario where if Duke wins at 7-5, will they get passed up by JMU? Because no matter what, even if Virginia wins, that Group of 5 spot's gonna go to the winner of North Texas and Tulane in the American Championship, just because James Madison, their strength of record and strength of schedule is not good. If you go through their schedule, it's just been bad, man. I mean, they're freaking 23-point favorites against Troy in the Sun Belt Championship. Like, it's just been all bad on JMU's schedule. So the only way they have a chance is if Duke makes it, and even if Duke does win the ACC chip, there is a chance, I think the committee just says to hell with it. Like, Duke has, at that point, they'd have 8 Power 4 wins, way more than JMU, way more than Tulane or North Texas. So would the committee really put JMU over Duke? I don't know, man. I don't know. Let's see. I think the most interesting thing about this ranking is all really within the top 15, though. Utah, they fell at 15. That was kind of known because Utah, there was a cap, man. There was really a cap on how high Utah could go. We saw in the first few rankings they were stuck at 13. No matter what, they really couldn't get past 13. And that was kind of just the way it was, man, because there were so many good teams. Utah, their best win was Arizona State, and pretty solid Cincy team who just really isn't as good anymore. And when those are your two best wins and you lost to BYU and Texas Tech, as a Big 12 team, there's really not a lot of wiggle room you could have. And that reflects in this ranking. Utah at 15. Vandy, such a magical season for Vandy. Comes pretty much to an end. It does not seem like Vandy has any room or path or just any scenario to make the college football playoff. That Texas loss really kind of hurt them because Texas is sitting at 9-3, and they're still ranked above Vandy because they do have that head-to-head. So, excuse me, I'm a little congested today. So, please try and ignore that. But nonetheless, Vandy magical season comes to an end. Again, when you're Vandy, the LSU win's not really as impressive anymore. The Tennessee win was impressive, but I mean, you have losses. The losses are good to Alabama and to Texas, but they just didn't do enough. They just didn't have enough meat on their schedule to kind of boost them ahead any further. Again, Texas, I know a lot of people were talking about Texas having a chance at the playoffs. They're really, and the main reason why maybe Texas if they were in the same situation last year, they could have probably made it in. But there's just too many 10-2 teams in the mix. There's just way too many. Think about it: Utah, Vandy, Miami, Notre Dame, Alabama, Oklahoma. Like, there is just entirely too many 10-2 teams in the mix to have a 9-3 Texas make it, especially when one of their losses is to a bad Florida team and they got absolutely handled by Georgia. I just was not seeing it. Miami did not move, which was a bit surprising. Miami went on the road in the cold weather to a ranked Pitt and dominated them 38-7. And for them to not move, it was a little bit surprising. I thought they could have maybe gotten by BYU, maybe. Because, BYU, I guess BYU has a couple good wins, but I thought maybe that would have been enough to put Miami at the worst 11. But Miami's at 12, BYU's at 11. We're going to get into some of the things that the chair of the College Football Playoff Committee said that are pretty interesting. Notre Dame did drop to 10, which this is how it should have been from the get-go. When Alabama lost to Oklahoma, Alabama should not have slidden past Notre Dame. Alabama should have gone to 9, and Notre Dame should have gone to 10. So it does look like that the College Football Playoff Committee kind of re-corrected that and put Alabama in the correct spot. Because Alabama has a far better resume than Notre Dame. Alabama has wins over Georgia, the number 3 team right now. They have a win against Vandy, the number 14 team. They have, that Tennessee win is, even though Tennessee's not ranked, that is still a quality win. So yeah, I just didn't really understand why Alabama got knocked down all the way to 10 after that loss. But it is corrected now. And Notre Dame's obviously at 10. I don't know if we should continue to beat this dead horse about Notre Dame and Miami. It just kind of baffles me that we are still in this position. Kind of going to what the chair of the College Football Playoff Committee said, because at first glance, it might seem like Miami really doesn't have a chance to move. But it was really interesting because the chair of the College Football Playoff Committee said that they are not. Let me see what was the quote? I wrote it down. He said, rankings are not set, and idle teams can move following the results of the conference championship games. So it was kind of like the assumption was that, at least kind of the way I was looking at it, is whatever the rankings kind of were today, felt like that was pretty much it. Especially with, a bunch of these teams not playing anymore, a bunch of them not having data points. it just felt like what more could any of these teams who aren't playing this weekend do to enhance or move up in the resume? But the committee chair did say these teams who don't play this week, they can move based off of the results of the weekend. And I don't know if he was just saying that as kind of what coach talk or just kind of like just to kind of like avoid something. But that's pretty interesting. Like, if BYU just gets absolutely handled like they literally did against Texas Tech earlier in the season, could they drop? If BYU drops, Miami goes up, and then they're right next to Notre Dame. And then at some point, if one team is 10 and one team is 12 or one team is 11, don't you have to compare that head-to-head at some point? Excuse me. So it doesn't really seem that the loser of the conference championship games are safe. It really doesn't seem like that because the chair literally said teams that are idle, they can move depending on the results of this weekend. So, if Alabama just gets absolutely handled by Georgia, could they be knocked out? Could they be knocked down to like 12? I guess they could. So that's going to be very, very interesting. If you're a Miami fan, then you are definitely rooting for Georgia and Texas Tech. If you're a Notre Dame fan, you are definitely rooting for probably Georgia as well. But yeah, that is very, very. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens. Let's see. I'm trying to see if there was. I mean, I could go more into that Miami and Notre Dame thing, but I think we've really harped on it, multiple times. I guess the last thing I will say is if it does get to the point where, say, BYU loses and Miami's 10 and Notre Dame's 11, or Notre Dame's 11 and Miami's 10, or even just if it stays like this, is this really the precedent you want to set? Because it's crazy because head-to-head is being valued in almost every single other scenario. Oklahoma, Alabama, Texas, and Vanderbilt. Because it's so weird because you want to say, oh, that's going to, if they do this to Miami, that's going to cause teams to not want to schedule these big out-of-conference, non-conference games. But they're literally valuing head-to-head in any other scenario. But it's also like, if Miami does end up not making it, you're going to set that precedent of, hey, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you schedule a top 10 non-conference game and you win. It does not matter because you can win that game and finish with the same record against the team you beat, and we will pick them over you. We will blatantly pick them over you. I just don't think that's a rabbit hole you want to go down, especially with all these new TV deals. They kind of updated the college football playoff criteria. Strength of record, non-conference games. Like the SEC is moving towards a new thing where they're playing an extra conference game, and they have to schedule a high, level Power 4 opponent. Like it just feels like. And we're already starting to get like a lot of these kind of non-conference games that are talks of getting canceled. There's been talks of the Georgia-Louisville game getting canceled. There's been talks of USC and Notre Dame not wanting to continue to do their game. So I just think this is going to be a bad, bad look if you leave a team who made that attempt to schedule to schedule a non-conference high-level game, and they just get quote unquote hoed because they lost to a Louisville team, they lost to an SMU team. Like that's just crazy, man. Because it really seems like this committee is valuing your losses more than your wins. It really does. We see it all over the board, and that's just kind of wild to me that you could beat a top 10 team, but because you lost, it should be a loss. I don't care if you lost to. There's obviously levels. If you lost to number 1 Ohio State versus if you lost to the Kent State, that's obviously different. But a loss in the Power 4, like shouldn't be weighed as heavy as another loss in the Power Four. It's just, I don't know. That's just my take on it. Let's see. I don't think there's anything else, man. I really don't. I honestly, because I was set to come in here and just be like, well, this is it. Miami, they're screwed. They're done. They're not gonna make it. But then the chair of the committee said that, and I felt like they just kept the back door open a little bit. Because when I saw Miami at 12, I was like, yep, that's it. They're cooked. They're not making it. They have no chance. But then, yeah, like I said, the chair said that. Seems like it opened up the door. So it's going to be something to look at. These conference championship games could and might have an impact on the rankings next Sunday. But we would just have to stay tuned for that, man. We just have to stay tuned for that. We will be posting a conference championship preview either on Wednesday or Thursday. So keep a lookout for that. Obviously, we're going to be posting a recap of the conference championship games, and then we will also be posting a reaction to the final playoff rankings that do come out on Sunday. So keep a lookout for that. And then from there, we're going to, because we're gonna have a lot of content to talk about. Really, in that week and a half time frame between now and the first round games. We're going to have previews. We're going to have just a lot of things to talk about. So it's going to be pretty interesting. Hey, the season doesn't end now. It feels like it's just now starting to begin. So again, if you are not subscribed, make sure to subscribe. As always, we are here a couple times a week talking all things college football. Peace.